China and Russia, two of the world's growing superpowers, are getting closer than ever. Their leaders, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, have met 3 times so far in 2018. During their last encounter at an economic forum, they pledged to strengthen ties even more.
中俄互为全面战略协作伙伴，两国关系处于历史最好时期。
The countries are cooperating on a number of levels. In September 2018, China sent more than 3,000 troops to take part in Russia's biggest war games in nearly 40 years. Analysts say their military cooperation comes from a shared interest in boosting their own geopolitical standing and offsetting the dominance of the United States. The warming relationship is a return of sorts to the early 1950s, when China was led by Mao Zedong and Russia was part of the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. But those ties were cut in the 1960s, when Mao and the new Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev had an ideological split over how to deal with the West. It wasn't until after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 that China and Russia re-established trade and reopened their borders. Today, the countries have a lot in common, including strained trade ties with the US. Beijing is embroiled in an increasingly bitter trade war with Washington. And Moscow has been slapped with US sanctions over its involvement in the conflict in Ukraine, annexation of Crimea, suspected cyber attacks, and a chemical poison attack on a former double agent and his daughter in the UK, allegedly carried out by Russian agents. But the leaders have presented a united front in criticizing US trade policy as President Donald Trump pulls out of existing trade deals and tries to negotiate new ones meant to further benefit Americans. Meanwhile, trade between China and Russia is booming, reaching $84 billion in 2017, up 20% from the year before. That includes huge sales of Russian weapons and energy to China, and the newly initiated Polar Silk Road, which is part of Beijing's ambitious Belt and Road Initiative development strategy. Both China and Russia have been accused by Western countries of human rights violations, but they don't let that stand in the way of trade. The countries routinely have each other's backs in the United Nations. For example, in June 2018, China blocked a proposal before the UN Security Council to sanction Russia over its role in the Syrian war. Also in June 2018, Putin said Xi was the only state leader to have ever celebrated his birthday with him. And Xi awarded Putin China's first ever Friendship Medal, which state media said is the highest state honor to foreigners. It's the closeness of these current leaders that seems to best illustrate China and Russia's strengthening ties.